Hey there, horror fans. I'm your host, Douglas here at Drownway Productions, and you're watching the 31 Days of Trick or Treat. This has been a pretty fun event. We are near the end of it, but every single day for 31 days we've taken a look at a different product by Trick or Treat Studios. Whether it's been a mask or an action figure, some wall art, a purse even. It's all been really cool stuff and it's been a really fun event. And since we're in the last few days, there's no need to recap any further than pretty much just yesterday. Which yesterday we took a look at the Halloween H2O Michael Myers mask. Today we will also be taking a look at another mask. However, it's not from Halloween. Today we're going to be taking a look at Henrietta Knowby from Evil Dead 2. She also does make an appearance in Ash vs. Evil Dead, but this is the Evil Dead 2 version. Evil Dead 2 is a cult classic and one of the most inspirational horror films ever made. Of course, the entire Evil Dead franchise is awesome and a badass splatterfest all the way throughout. In my opinion, the Evil Dead franchise is one of the best franchises in all of horror. It's the perfect blend of horror and comedy, and because of that, it's kind of hard to judge it too harshly. But really, there's not many shortcomings in the entire franchise. However, today we're talking specifically about Henrietta Knowby from Evil Dead 2. Henrietta is of course the mother of Annie Knowby, one of the main characters in Evil Dead 2, and the wife of Raymond Knowby, which is the professor that found the Necronomicon and read it on that tape. Of course, as you come to find out, he trapped his wife in the basement and couldn't kill her. So she was one of the first possessed by the Necronomicon once it was found, at least in this storyline, around these specific characters. And she's also one of the most unique Deadites that you end up coming across. She has some very interesting sound effects, and her transformation is just really, really cool and grotesque. For sure, one of the most memorable Deadites in the entire lineup. And Trick or Treat Studios did a pretty great job bringing her to life, or unlife, in this mask form. The sculpture on this thing is pretty fantastic, and the paint job does not do it justice. Not to say that it's bad paint, but wow, this is an incredibly detailed sculpture, a lot of texture, it looks really realistic and like gross and fleshy. As for visibility and ventilation, there are some nice nose holes cut. The mouth is slit here, right above the tongue, which is almost like a completely black tongue, so it kind of just looks like the inside of the mouth is painted black. And then there are some slits above the sculpted eyes here for you to see out of. As far as the paint, you have this really nasty, dead, bruised look. And to be honest, the way that it's finished, especially with like that pale bluish color throughout, this reminds me really, really heavily of like an early Distortions mask. You've got some nice purple bruising in different areas on the neck here, a lot of purple around that dead eye, some on the lips here. The tongue is kind of this blackish, purplish color, which I mean, of course, is accurate to the movie. However, due to it being so dark, you almost can't even tell there's a tongue in there unless you look really close. The teeth are also barely visible, at least the bottom teeth are just barely jutting out above the lips, and the top ones are kind of halfway covered by the lips, but they look pretty well painted, and I mean overall it captures that nasty Evil Dead look pretty well. As for the gore effects on here, the blood that they used is a nice deep red glossy blood. Most of it's put on pretty well, some of it's a little bit haphazard, so it kind of drowns out some of the details in that area, but for the most part, it's not too bad. It definitely could use a little bit of a touch-up, maybe even additional blood. But I mean, outside of that, the rest of the paint job looks pretty nice. The blood being upgraded is really just one of the main things I would say, but there obviously are many things you could do to improve this with an airbrush if you have one, or even just doing some simple paint washes by hand. Next up, let's talk about that hair. The hair is a little bit long, I think. It could be trimmed up. However, long hair on a mask like this is always a good thing. You can trim it up to the length that you want, but if it's too short, you're in a really rough spot then. So rather than have a factory worker possibly cut it too short, it makes more sense to have it done longer like this. And it does look pretty darn nice. However, this is that like synthetic hair that's super shiny. I'm sure you guys can tell it looks pretty shiny. Whereas the actual hair in the movie is a little bit more dingy looking. Now, if you want to get that effect on your mask, I'll give you a very quick and simple way to do that. Baby powder. Just talc up that hair, put some baby powder in it, shake it out, stuff like that, and it should bring down that shine quite a bit. It's going to look a lot better. So yeah, overall a pretty nice looking mask. Even without the Evil Dead affiliation, I feel this would be a really, really cool, like creepy zombie mask. If I saw this, I would probably just think it's a zombie of some sort. I wouldn't think possessed evil old woman. But enough about my thoughts on this. Let's go ahead and read the excerpt directly from the Trick or Treat Studios website. Alright, here we go. It says it was sculpted by Russ Lukic, who has done many wonderful masks for Trick or Treat Studios. Trick or Treat Studios and Studio Canal are proud to present for the first time ever the official Evil Dead 2 Henrietta Halloween mask. Henrietta Knowby was the wife of Professor Knowby, who brought the Necronomicon to the cabin in Evil Dead 2. Henrietta was possessed shortly after Professor Knowby read the pages of the Necronomicon, unleashing the evil and attacking Ash. Sculpted by Russ Lukic and using countless screenshots, every detail of Henrietta from Evil Dead 2 is represented in this amazing Halloween mask. So get your official, that's odd. It says get your officially licensed Book of the Dead, i.e. the Necronomicon, and become an evil force this Halloween night. Now that doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. As for the price on these, you would be shocked to learn that they are actually a little bit more expensive than your standard full head deluxe Halloween mask. Instead of $60, these are $70. So a little bit more expensive, however, I do think it's probably still worth it. I'm guessing that they charge that much due to the amount of hair that they have to put on here. I know hair can typically make masks like this go up in price. I wouldn't think it's due to the sheer amount of paint work. However, there are a lot of little details in here that are supposed to be hit with that blood. And with so many of them, and being something that can't be done with like a wash or something like that, it does take a decent amount of time to finish these up. The only thing I could really find to complain about on this mask, and it's not a huge downside at all, and it actually would probably vary from copy to copy, is that the blue, like the blue highlights on the actual stock image, are much more contrasting compared to what we have here. Here they're very faint and it kind of blends into the fleshiness, which does look good. It's not bad by any means. However, I do like that stark contrast. The cool colors look nicer. But really, that's not even a huge downside, and that's something I could easily fix personally. But for an off-the-shelf Halloween mask, this thing is pretty awesome. If you're interested in picking up one of these for your Evil Dead collection, or if you're just a mask collector who wants a really cool looking zombie mask, then I say grab one of these. And you can get it directly from Trick or Treat Studios or one of the plethora of retailers that they work with. And with that being said, there's really nothing left to do but give you guys some nice close-ups of this mask, and maybe go hunt the Necronomicon. But I hope you all enjoyed this video and all the videos during the 31 days of Trick or Treat. It has been a treat for me, and I hope it's been a treat for you all. I love you all, thank you for watching, and see you next time.